I'm recording. Let's see. Everyone doing all right?
So good.
Trisha, where are you now? You're not in Hartford anymore, right?
I am in Hartford.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. Are you still in Nashville?
I am.
Super.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm in my kitchen.
Are you in your kitchen?
This is our cooking lab. No.
Yeah. The onion lab at YOUmedia Dreamweaver.
I'm working from home today. I have some meetings in the city later from home this morning.
That's nice.
That's nice.
We have our library is closing early today because of the draft, the NFL draft. So like in 20 minutes on the dot, security is gonna throw me out of here. So hopefully we'll say all the interesting stuff by then. So the question is, how can we share experiences with new members of the COP? I did not. This is the first time I've seen this question actually. So hopefully everyone's interpreting it in their own way. Let's see, there it is. Cool. Any ideas? With new members of the COP.
Well, this is a good start. I'm on there's like 2 committees right now, like onboarding and, right? Wait, Nick, you're on onboarding with me, right? And then the other one is kind of the community managers, right?
Right.
And we had been talking about like just getting these calls back together because I just like miss everyone's faces so much. So I feel like for those of us that have been around for a while, sharing, even just now, like hearing some ideas. I mean, that was also from new people, but I feel like just seeing each other's faces is really refreshing and nice. In addition to the community practice, where it kind of keeps the day-to-day conversation going, but maybe just using some of these community calls to highlight. You're just highlighting so many cool projects and kind of themes running through our projects. And maybe it would be cool to do like, do you think people want to know about the history of the network? Do you feel like that's old hat? Like we don't need to rehash history or like what we've learned from each other in the past.
That might be an interesting thing to try with like newer branches or newer people coming on. I feel like I would want to know about the history, but I don't know. Maybe it's coming from someone who knows some of the history.
Hey, Amelia.
Hey, I felt left out, so
yeah. Yeah, that's a neat idea. That'd be kind of interesting to do a hangout that's just like, or like this like history of the network and kind of invite newer branches maybe or newer sites.
Yeah, and it could be like, here's some of the things we did in the past. Do we want to bring any of them back, or what are some new ideas? So it doesn't have to be all just looking backwards, but I would hope that new folks know that there is like a really rich history to the network. You know,
I think,
a lot of funding before, but they can still exist. But another idea there.
Our history just contributes to people better understanding the lessons that we've learned. Like, why are we doing things this way? Well, because we spent years doing it this other way and eventually came to this being effective. So yeah, I think that the history part is probably pretty valuable. I also feel like often when we talk to people, not even who are creating YOUmedia spaces, but just maker spaces, they have very specific questions. And it could be cool to do the virtual consultancy for new spaces. Like, what is your big problem right now? Are you having trouble with funding? Are you having trouble with staffing? Are you having trouble with engagement or recruitment? We've all been there, and it's like pretty old hat for us to be able to just talk about it. Like, yeah, we did that too. Here's like how all of us got through it.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's good. Amelia, you're a lead contributor, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
That might be a good thing to think about for a future hangout, is that history piece and watching the.
Yeah, that does. I really like a history of it and going through. And I like the idea. Something that Desiree and I were like brainstorming about was like some kind of mentorship situation. So like Trisha, you said like a consultancy. but maybe even having a hangout time where like we would pair people together, or do it depending on people's schedules, but
like a buddy system.
Yeah, like a buddy system. I like that. Or even like it could even be over email too, especially with like specific questions. Like I know I came into the COP and I asked about like audio recording, and there's already so much there. So if you like got paired with someone who already had all those resources and can just send them over, that could be a good way of sharing.
I think that's great. Yeah, and it's a little bit more direct. Like we can always put that stuff on the community of practice too, and people can comb through it. But having that like direct contact is wonderful. And like I always find that when I'm doing the consultancies every year with people, it's like, you know, we try to stick to the format, but it normally is like, has this ever happened to you? And then we sort of bounce ideas back and forth, and I can see that being really enriching if that was like a monthly thing or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, monthly would be really cool.
Or whatever we figure out. Maybe that's too much, but anyway, whatever people are comfortable with in that like sort of like buddy system role.
Mm-hmm.
I think broad intro. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Nope, Eric, I think it's your turn.
I hear your voice. It's
been spoken.
Okay. I was going to say it might be good. This might already exist too, just because I'm not super on top of things. But maybe there's a list of like the mentee kind of or mentor locations that could like serve as like the people you could reach out to if you're needing to start a space for specific things. Like we field a lot of tours from places like I see Lance maybe twice a year just because he's coming through Chicago and wants to stop by. Like maybe we have like a list of like locations or regional places where like, let's say you're opening up in Iowa, maybe you can get out to Chicago or, and we would be open to coordinating some type of visit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think to build on that too, so we at Hartford have 2 staff who are doing this hangout for the first time. Broad introductions would be good for them to get the kind of lay of the land. Like it's really comfortable for me to jump in because I know all of you, except for you, Amelia. Hi, nice to meet you. But they don't know anybody and are not sure where people are from or what they specialize in or how they operate. So I'm not sure if like it's probably a lot to keep up with because it can't ever be evergreen, but having like a bio or like a video with like a 15-second introduction might be neat.
Yeah. I could see that like being combined, like making some kind of list, and it could be like either a written or a video bio of like, I'm at this location, these are some of the programs that I am in charge of, this is what I'm an expert in, and like this is where you can contact me if people are like have the time to be contacted and coordinate that kind of thing. But like having kind of a directory of the community that we can connect people directly sounds really intriguing, just because like I know that I'm so into like meeting people and talking and like Nick said, just bouncing ideas off of each other. Like you don't exactly know what you need until you start having that conversation sometimes. So like being able to have like a direct contact sounds really cool.
Speaking of direct contact, does anybody know if there are going to be any retreats coming up at all? I would super love to send some of my newer staff to an in-person thing so they could really get the feel of the people who do this work across the country.
Does anyone else know? I don't know.
I've not heard that there's anything on the agenda. I think it's like more of a funding thing at this point, I would say. Hillary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a couple, I think people have been trying around conferences. So like, I don't know, it was like ALA this year, people were trying to meet. So that's all I've heard of is that like if you're sending people to conferences, they might be able to meet other YOUmedia people there, like either for lunch or like a special meeting. But I think the funding's really low right now. It's like,
yeah, there's not that. Yeah, that's what I've heard too. I think it would be worthwhile though to like maybe if you were going to a conference and meet a day early and spend some time, like we could build out some kind of retreat, like not the same level as I've heard about these retreats in the past. I wish that I got to go to one, but do something a little bit like not as elaborate, but still like working on like making sure our resources are good, like working on a directory, meeting and talking. So yeah, I think it would be really, really interesting. I'm like probably going to go to the Connected Learning Conference in California, but if I don't know what conferences you guys are thinking about going to besides
I'm
Vail.
going to Connected Learning too with Daniel here. So we're going to be
cool.
presenting on program evaluation.
Nice. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. Can you share your information?
Oh, yeah, sure. Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, so like,
Yeah.
I've been working with, on an IMLS grant with Children's Museum of Pittsburgh and their make shop. And we've been coming up with like a suite of evaluation tools for maker programs, informal drop-in. But then it's turned into something else because we needed it too for our spaces. And we also have like the luxury of sometimes seeing teens for up to 5 years. So it's going to be this big cycle of, I'm calling it radical support. So people don't get worried about like punitive evaluations, because that's not what it's about. So.
Are you also going to participate in the Maker Ed convening in Pittsburgh?
I don't think I am. There is one, there's another one in Madison that I might go out to. It's games. It was the Games Learning and Society Conference. It's just been changed to something else. But I think I'm doing that. And then I don't know about anybody else, but we have some people going to the Bay Area Maker Faire and to Games for Change.
I'm writing all of these down.
But I'm sure if others wanted to meet up there, we would totally be down with that.
So I wonder if this couldn't be like, when people reach out to us to join the network, if we are setting forth like a series of recommendations, could it be a recommendation that new staff go to one of these 3 conferences, and we can say every year, the day before that specific conference, there will be a YOUmedia retreat? I don't know how organized we feel like that needs to be, but it would be cool to say, like, before the CL Summit, before YALSA, before Games for Change. We have 3 opportunities spread throughout the year for you to meet people in person, since we don't have funding for retreat.
I love that. That sounds really, really good. And that way it would be like a set thing as opposed to just like happening to meet each other there. But like having a set up thing.
That might be a nice, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that might be a nice, like, I don't know if it's a survey or something on the COP where it's like, can you just mark down whatever conferences you go in, and maybe we can figure out like how many, what's the most frequent one? And because I think for years we've been talking about ways to do more formal meetups before ALA or what have you.
Yeah, I think a survey would be great. Maybe we could send out like just like have people do the top 3 ones that people are planning to do.
Yeah, and I didn't even know about this Maker Ed one, so Eric, thanks for that. I pulled it up right now. Looks interesting.
So it looks like, can you see the time in the corner?
Yes, 46.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to leave the breakout room just to warn everyone. Thank you all so much. This is really useful and awesome. Okay.
Bye, Amelia.
Bye.
I have your attention, please.
I'm going to put this.
Get out, the draft is coming.
Would it be possible to bring folks to DreamYard?
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say real quick for everybody, but especially you, Trisha, since you're not that far away. You're always welcome at DreamYard, and we also threw out the idea of like regional meetups, which might be easier, right? So like Midwest, South, Northeast. So that's another idea we could just float around to see, again, I don't think there's going to be funding for it, but
Just get an alert. All breakout rooms will close in 50 seconds. Good Lord, this is stressful.
Yeah. Get your final words.
I want to second that regional piece, because I think if someone can manage to get a regional one together, I think that's really going to inspire everybody. So we're trying down here in the South, but we'll see if it happens.
Hillary, let's talk about it offline.
Yeah, please
we can make it happen.
All right?
Make it happen.
The
Sweet.
whole Springfield staff came here before they opened. It was like
That's
10
awesome.
people, and they visited for a week.
Wow.
Yeah, it's stuff like that really helps, I think. And then they
Okay.
keep contacting us for various reasons, but that's great.
Okay.
Great to hear.
Super.
That's kind of a little mini regional one. All right, well, it was so good
You
to
guys
see
are
you guys.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Nice
gotta take
breakout.
the karaoke now to put a cherry on this.
Yeah.
All right, how do we do
Bohemian
this?
Rhapsody.
How did that feel?
It went well.
Can we have someone from each group